All right, let's go. Get your pens out, take notes. See everybody. All right, what do we got for announcements? We already got some super chats here. Are we not men? 199, God bless. Thank you. May the Lord bless. Feeling the wolf. 2 pounds. God bless everyone. Thank you so much. And thanks again, H. Brasi, for wonderful $100 tip for the ministry. And for our regular contributor, Dave the Philippian, donated $10 on the last stream. Thank you so much. Announcements. Let's see. We had Sunday Saturday we celebrated the exaltation of the Holy Cross at our satellite mission parish. In case you guys don't know what a satellite mission parish is that a satellite like around a main church. So it's not uncommon for a large parish to, once it gets to a certain size, to start launching satellites. Now, mission parish is not independent parish. That means they have no parish council. They have no bank account or finances of their own. That's all taken care of by the main parish. And the idea is once it becomes mature enough and large enough, then it, gets the blessing of the bishop to be its own parish. It gets its own parish council, etc. So we launched, it must have been like 3.5, 4 years ago, under His Grace Bishop Maxime, satellite mission parish of Holy Trinity Butte in the Helena area, and the name of that is Holy Ascension. So, and we're launching more in the Bitterroot Valley area, which is the valley that basically runs through Missoula. There's a lot of Orthodox there. So we're hopefully going to get another satellite mission parish there. Keep in mind too that our sister parish in Kalispell, St. Herman's, was originally launched as a satellite mission parish under His Grace Bishop Maxim, and it was Father Russell Redeuchet who was serving that community, and it just blew up and grew, into a fully functioning, not only a fully functioning parish, but now, I can't remember if it's been 8 years or 9 years since, they've been a fully moved out of the status of being a mission parish and a fully independent parish, functioning parish. But now they've grown so big. Thank God for Father Panagiotis and everybody there. All the people, they're wonderful. I love them up there. They've outgrown their parish. They've got new property. It was blessed. I think the land was blessed 2 years ago by His Grace Bishop Maxim. Anyways, further news. Oh, did I close it down? 1 second. Well, we did our the feast day for the exaltation of the Holy Cross at our mission parish. So I serve 2 parishes, one in the Helena area at Holy Ascension. And then, so typically that's Saturday liturgies. And I'm basically the only clergy member here. I'm appointed under the direction of Father Russell serving the greater Helena community. And so if there isn't a priest here to do liturgies, I'm basically the acting priest. But as you know, as a deacon, can't consecrate or do those things. So, but I teach classes. I tend the parish and in charge of that. And then Father Russell usually, and we have some other visiting priests that do liturgies, come down usually Saturday. This Sunday, we'll have Father Paul coming up from San Diego to do liturgy on Sunday, so I won't be in Butte. But that's typically my schedule. Liturgy Saturday in the Helena area at Holy Ascension. Then I go down to Holy Trinity in Butte and serve Sunday. Now, we had, it's amazing, on Saturday, 40 to 42, I think it was 40, 42 or 2 people at our small mission parish. Then yesterday, went down to the main church, Holy Trinity, and our new abbot and monk, hero monk, Papa Ephraim, who's now living at the monastery, served, celebrated with us, so it was really wonderful. I'd met him before, but I think it was the first time I've served with him, so that was a wonderful blessing. And then, anyways, there was something I was going to say about. Then don't forget to. So people were making comments like, "Wow, your mission parish is growing." I'm like, "Oh, you should see how big Holy Trinity is growing." And I keep in mind that's significant. I think the Helena proper is 30,000 people, and Butte's 35,000. So, people, everybody's parishes are growing, but like, that means something in such a small area that we live in. And then keep in mind too, we're a state the size almost of California with only 1 million people. So to see that sort of growth is, as Father Russell said, Montana's on the map now. Watch this. Montana will lead Orthodoxy in America. We now have a monastery up and running, and we have Abbot Methodius from Hillendar Monastery coming in October to the monastery to speak only with men who are seriously interested. So he's not here to speak to other people or just, like, oh, I'm kind of thinking about, we're recruiting monks. The monastery's up and running. We have an abbot there. We have a monk living there now. And so on 1,000 acres, and let's see, I'll put it in the chat. If you are interested, yeah, our largest city in Montana is 150,000 Billings. So the fact that we're growing as fast as we are, like the numbers proportionally, like it's, and Father Russell said, like, Montana Orthodoxy is known around the world now. Thank God that the Lord has blessed the conference and put, us on the map and really wonderful things. There's even talk about launching a women's monastery in the future. But right now we're focusing on St. Peter's. And so here, I'll just put up, share this. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Abbot Methodius from Hillendar, the very Reverend Archimandrite Methodius, will be visiting our St. Peter's Monastery in Harrison, Montana. It's about an hour south of Butte. It's about an hour, 15 minutes south of where I am at in Helena. So if you are a man, young or old, seriously interested, not just curious, in becoming a monk and possibly joining the monks at St. Peter's Monastery here in Montana, you really don't want to miss this. St. Peter's, as you know, I always do before the conference a tour there because I wanted to show people the amazing things that are happening in Montana, what we have here. and it's situated ideally on 1,000 acres, surrounded by mountains and sparsely populated ranch lands, and lies off the grid, generating its own electricity. So it's all run by solar power and wind. It's on a river called Philosophy, named by the explorers Lewis and Clark in 1805. They named that. It flows right through the property into an undeveloped lake that forms the monastery's southern boundary. It's located in the center of the state, north of Yellowstone Park, south of Helena, the state capital, and only an hour's drive from Bozeman and Butte. There is the property owner, David Hicks, mansion that he constructed based on, he's a classics, he was a classics professor and translator, and based the architecture on the ancient proportions. Let's see here. Why is this not moving? Why is this not moving? I put a slideshow in here so you could see. Try it again. Refresh. Odd. Stuck. If you look at it, it's not stuck, but I don't know why. It's stuck on my, sometimes from my end on my computer it gets. All right. Sorry, just check it out. Interested in attending, sign up here. Leave a message, and we'll forward that to the organizer and to Father Russell and Abbot Methodius and set that up for you. So that is huge news. The only problem is that not one catechumen has gotten married. Where are all the women? Well, the men will lead and the women will follow, as it said too. Most young men, I would say, are not ready for marriage. Like, they need to conquer their lusts. They need to get a job. They need something to offer the woman, right? In terms of finding like some practicalities. So, uh, Jay and I were talking about that, and I think I was talking with Father Russell about this as well. That there's this pressure on young Orthodox men to get married immediately, and that's great. To get married, but you have to be ready. I'd say most people 18 to 25 are nowhere near. They have a lot of work to do. And I think there's just this anxiety in the Zoomer generation that coming out of a world of chaos, they see like, well, that would be a structured thing. I'll have kids and stuff like that. And what else do you do? You're not in the secular dating world. And so they just want to get to it. They want their lives to go forward. They're ready to get started in life. And that's the prescribed way. There's two prescribed ways in Orthodoxy. Either you're married or you become a monastic. There's no prescribed way of solitary celibate or anything like that. And so no eternal bachelor or anything like that. That's not something that's. So I think they feel that pressure, but first things first, young men need to get themselves together. Like, I get it, but you're not ready. Most of you are not ready to marry yet. And so I know that my godfather, Gary, and Father Hans are really good sign up for, I'm going to plug them, the St. Paisius Brotherhood, and learn to become a man first. Get some virtues under, get financially stable so that you have something to offer the women. That would be my recommendation. All right, I want to show you something about. I'll show, excuse me, the picture of the parish, and then these funny comments from people. Where is it? Here it is. Watch people spurg out about it. And I'm going to explain this. But it's not uncommon. Like, you know what's frustrating is that I have to, like, think for people. Everybody wants a soundbite answer. It's like, I don't, like, it's not going to help you if I just give you the answer. You can't be serious. Who's that? You don't really want me to give you the answer. Yeah, I was talking to J.H. Crosby. Oh, remember you called in and we brought this up. It's hard for me to relate because I wasn't Orthodox until, 2012 is when we came into the church. Although I'd been studying it for a long time. I'd always been Christian. But I dated. I felt no pressure to get married whatsoever. Um, Maybe, that's my fault too. Well, one thing, I was working on my philosophy degrees, getting, a master's and a PhD and stuff like that. Although I should say that by the time I got my master's, I got I was engaged to my wife, so I really would need to rewind previous to that. When I was an undergraduate, like, I was perfectly fine just like dating and just trying to find a good girlfriend, I guess, like, and grow up and learn things just, through the dating world, about myself and about interpersonal relations and stuff like that. So I, it's hard for me to relate that kind of like paralysis. Like, I've got it, as being a young Zoomer in Orthodoxy, that I've got to get married. I would say, talking to a parishioner yesterday, female parishioner, young girl, who Father Russell and I married, uh, to a dear friend and parishioner here, is that I think the women, she made a really good point yesterday at coffee hour. They have more justification for pressure. Why? Because if they're not a career woman, she said, a lot of us are not interested in that. And so we're just kind of waiting, right? They're not in the same problems where they, like the young guys have to learn to become men. They're waiting for a good candidate who has grown up from their youth and become a man to court them and marry them. And I'm like, you know what? That they have more justification to actually, be worried and and want to rush into that. But you don't typically get that with the women, I don't think. So I found that interesting. That's amazing. Met your wife a year after graduating high school. Yeah, that's a blessing. I mean, to not have to go through the dating world and the chaos of. Young guys need to get off the prawn and other stuff. Stop playing video games. Put away the Funko Pops and the anime and get a jobby job. Get skills, start saving up money and working hard, right? To acquire kind of strength and virtues that they can offer, at least the women a future. Jeez, yeah. I mean, I cannot, the amount of time people waste on video games. Like, you want to once in a while schedule, like, some leisure time to play, like, that's fine. But like I said, video games are very different than they were, in the 90s. They're designed to keep you on. They're designed to be addictive, and they're designed to keep you on for a very long time. So, like, look, you're just gonna have to grow up and get off that stuff. Just lay it aside and become a man. And maybe play video games occasionally. Or maybe pick video games that are not so interactive. I don't know what to tell you. Got a super chat. Let me read it off. Austin C tips $30. Wow. I couldn't think of anything funny or interesting. That's kind of funny. All right. Here, let's do something funny. I want to show you the Spurgs come out. So this is our parish here, our mission parish. Remember, I serve in 2 parishes. This is the Helena area. It's Holy Ascension. So look at the right. Holy Ascension Orthodox Christian Church. And every time we put a photo up of this, I love this parish too. It's up on a hill in Clancy. There's bright. There's like the window. You can see all the mountains. Interesting enough, Bishop Maxim chose the name for this, not knowing that immediately behind us or in front of us in the picture is a mountain called Mount Ascension. How amazing is that? Then people got a spurg on, why does it say St. John the Baptist Catholic Church? Here's a perfect example. Why do I always have to spell things out for people and give people the answer? I get this in Discord all the time. It's just like people just want a soundbite answer and they don't want to think. It's like, I don't know, use your mind and probably think why that's signs up there. But alas, I always use, I usually answer. The building's owned, just so everybody knows, by the Roman Catholic Diocese in Helena, because I teach at Carroll College, which is a diocesan college. It's under the Roman Catholic Bishop Vetter of Helena. My connection with them, they like us. They like Orthodoxy, which is great. And they, I contacted them, 4 years ago because I noticed this building was not being used and we needed a building. And they said they have no use for it for at least 10 years, but they didn't want to sell it. It's not being used, so we're not sharing the building with anybody. But they didn't want us to, they own the building, so they didn't want us to, they want to keep that sign up. Okay, they own it. They give us a great deal. They're happy to see people, Orthodox worshiping there. So, but it's not uncommon that people have to rent from an active heterodox church, whether Protestant. Like, so that's what I don't understand. Wouldn't you in your mind just be like, oh, they're probably renting from the Roman Catholic Church? That's why I just don't get why people get so confused about. So there's one guy here. I cannot figure out what's going on with this dude. Another guy. Why does your... First of all, we are the Catholic Church. Now notice it doesn't say Roman Catholic. So I have to explain to him. So then I put this funny... This was my godson, who is back here. One of my 12 godchildren. Did something funny. I obviously used Paint or AI to cover that up, and he was like, "Oh, Father, I fixed it for you." So I actually reposted that picture. Here, I fix you. This guy spurgs out. How did you do that? Then we got Nacho makes a funny joke. He obviously had everyone retake the photo. Why exactly did you reply to my question with such an obvious... I mean, this has to be autism, right? I can't figure this out. I said, so I had to explain he's joking. If that's true, then his joke was obviously... Why is it like... Because you can't use your mind and obviously figure out... I mean, it's obviously what happened to... I just can't figure... Like, it's amazing to me that everything has to be spelled out for people. Somebody makes a joke, this means rude. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to answer this guy. He's got to figure it out. So I just say, well, amazing things happen at our parish. You'll just have to come and see, as the sign says. So he spurgs out anymore. Can you please quit trying to change the subject and answer? Like, no. Like, the more you want me to answer that, the more I'm not going to. But I've seen this over and over again. What in the world? Mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. I just... Whoa! Planet Tabor! $100! Got a very unexpected, insanely generous bonus for voiceover work on Silk Song video games. Oops. You've been incredibly helpful getting my wife and I into the Orthodox Church. People are spilling out of tiny parish here in Rapid City, South Dakota. Wow, God bless you. I can't thank you enough. That is amazing. And God bless your parish. That it's growing. Yeah, everybody's giving it a huge shout out. Thank you so much. That is wonderfully generous. Wow, amazing. Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. And continue to keep you um, and your wife and your community in our prayers. Hope you can make it out sometime to Montana and see everything amazing going on here. That's what my wife said. He's got to be a bot. Yeah, this we've talked about. I think it's multiple kind of reasons that causes this kind of deficiency in right, like I don't know if it's literal autism or not, but it's deficiency in right brain and dominance in left brain, which is not healthy. We've talked about this a million times. I think that I think that I think education overall moving away from kind of classical liberal arts and great books into kind of STEM dominance together with polypharmacy, health, food, together with social media, the way that we process information, and kind of an algorithmic behaviorist kind of model, like those alone without even getting into the jabs, like was probably sufficient to explain, like, yes, it's exactly why you see right brain deficiency and left brain dominance and the inability to pick up on analogies, sarcasm. There's like a literalism and everything. Inability to tell. What's interesting is not only the misinterpretation of thinking something is a lie, but also people's inability to actually detect when somebody's actually lying is a feature of right brain deficiency. How do you fix that? Great question. Yeah, and somebody was making like at the parish was making a jab at the whole, no pun intended, the Tylenol, like it was like it's not a joke. It's like that's real. The Tylenol's linking to possibly to autism isn't Tylenol itself, but when you're on kind of polypharmacy and all this other stuff, and right, their drug interaction. I mean, this shouldn't be surprising to anybody. Like anybody, drug interactions with other drugs. Like that's basically, and I think we'll get kind of more in data and research on that. But I would say how to fix that. Well, if you're deficient in something, start. That's why I always encourage people to read literature, poetry, like start working the right brain. I think diet will be important as well. I'll be going on Dr. Pete's. I don't know if it's live or if he's going to record and then put it on, but Dr. Pete down there in Australia, who is the author. He's an really good at nutrition, and he's a ER doctor and wrote the Athos Diet. So we may actually on Wednesday morning talk about this. But yeah, I would think also limit screen time. Start working on kind of like developing interpersonal social aspects, things like that, in conjunction with a healthy diet, strengthening the right brain, stuff like that is probably as best as you could do. Yeah, Tylenol is not. Somebody else brought up something really interesting. Oh, it's my godson. So I call it Lord of the Flies children here at the apartment. I, I mean, the only good thing is I don't see that. I see them outside playing and not on digital devices. And let me give you a contrast. My wife and I went to a brewery the other day, and breweries, they're different probably than other areas. Children, they're kind of like family places, and children are there. There's usually games outside, like the what's the with the bean bag where you throw into the cornhole games, stuff like that, and it's a wholesome kind of. It's not like a bar or something like that. And I saw two families in stark contrast. One had their young kids on digital devices with right headphones, and they're playing the games and doing, and the parents aren't interacting with them at all. That's just their kind of babysitter. And then on the other side of the room, another family on no digital devices, and the kids are playing with like toys, and I'm like, look at that, isn't that amazing? So we'll say at our apartment complex that I never see the kids on digital device. At least that's good. Okay. But what blows my mind is like the other night I had to take the trash out or something. Right before I went to bed, it was like 9:50. It's getting dark now at like 8 something. I forget when. And as a kid, I grew up in California, so I wasn't as high north. So obviously, uh, you know, it was a bit different as far as getting um during the summertime, getting darker earlier, stays way lighter up here because we're so much farther north. But now we're not in summer. But the thing is, growing up, like, you had to be in, every kid, every parent did this. Um, by sunset, and there were no kids playing out in the dark. Part it's dangerous, cars and stuff like that. But what's crazy up here, like a couple nights ago, taking the trash out, there were like I said, it was probably dark at like 8:40. They were out at 10 o'clock still playing. I'm like, that's insane. And unless like there was a sleepover camp, but like occasionally, we'd pitch a tent in the back and have friends over or something like that. Um, it was unheard of that I wasn't in bed by 9:30. So that means these kids are out here playing till 10. I mean, it's going to be another hour, by the time they wind down, brush their teeth, and get into bed. 11 o'clock. I'm like, and there's no. I mean, luckily we're in a safe area and stuff, and there's like a little. it's like a park, but like there's a grass area where all the kids play right here. So there's no cars or anything by, and we've got like a playground right up here for the kids. And but there's no parent supervision. They just play till 10. That's why I call it Lord of the Flies. Like children, like they just have their own civilization. Um, and I brought this up with my godson. He was like, "That's millennial parents. Millennial parents just don't have rules and enforce for the most part." And I'm like, I didn't even think about that. Saw one kid walking by with like a young girl with like a furry tail, and I'm like, I can't believe the parents, given everything that's going on and what we know about that, their parents just let them do that. Like that's crazy. I'm just It's just crazy. Anyways, let me read some super chats real quick. Sergius, $10. Same thing here in Strongsville, Ohio. St. Constantine Helen, Greek Orthodox Church. Father says he's meeting daily with inquirers of the parish. It's busting it out of the seams with people. Glory to God, yeah. All right, I'm going to go back and talk about, address some of the other questions, see what's going on in the chat. Oh, yeah, music. Great point. Learning to play an instrument helps. That's good. Great. Get your protein levels up. Yeah. Work out. Yeah. Get off of. I mean, you can't just get off of it right away. You're gonna have to like slowly wean off and replace that with a good diet. But I don't think anybody should be on SSRIs. I think the diet could deal with most of that. So that's obviously something that's probably a factor. Absolutely not. Do not go to like if you want to be Orthodox but you don't have do not go to the Catholic Church and to just stay home. Um, they believe something different, right? They not. I mean, you'd be better to go to a secular function than. People have asked about this before. What you can do, first of all, you can get a hold of an Orthodox priest. Hopefully, one close, at least is it may be far away, but the closest one. Explain your situation. Um, they'll probably give you some reading. Ask them even for, on Sundays you could do a reading service, but like absolutely not. Do not go to a heterodox. Why? Like that'd be like if somebody asked. Suppose they're the only church around was a Mormon church. Like, would you go to a Mormon church? What is RSD? Is that Romanian? Let's see here. I'm gonna read your super chat. Or I can read your name. You look Serbian. Is that correct? Sends 1,000 RSD. Thank you so much. I'm gonna read your super chat real quick. Serbian dinar. Yes, the Serbs are winning. Mirror, mirror. Can we burn incense at home? And if so, how? You have something like this? You can get little coals. You light the coal, you put it here, and then you get incense, and then you can just burn that. Like that. That's how. And any Orthodox store or online store, you can order one of those. Thank you so much. God bless Serbia. I saw somebody when Cleaved Antiquity had Dr. David Patrick Harry on. Just, I don't know if they're a bot, like, it was just the same message over and over again. I'm in Brazil, the nearest church, I don't know if they said in kilometers, I can't remember, it's probably like 3 hours away. Like, what should I do? If you want to become Orthodox, like, well, at some point you have to move. I mean, what if, like, somebody said, there's no employment anywhere near me, what do I do? The nearest job is 3 hours. It's like, oh, eventually don't you have to move? Like, I mean, these things you can do in the meantime till you get there, but don't go to a heterodox religion. Caleb, $20. While Deacon, I was reading your paper, The Reason for Reason, in that paragraph where you basically write, if anything can be presupposed, then theism cannot be critiqued. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, thank you for the. So, just to address that, you always hear these like, well, I don't have to justify whether knowledge exists or not. It's just or logic. It's just axiomatic. The problem is, like, axioms work within a formal system. If I take, for example, just a classic example of mathematics, starting with Euclid's Elements, his geometry, the axioms and definitions are not proven. Like, they're just assumed, right? And defined what a point is, a line, a breadthless length. If two straight lines drawn at right angles to another line are drawn out indefinitely, they will not intersect, etc. Like, those are kind of axioms, and they make the system work. But that doesn't tell us anything about, like, does mathematics apply to the world? Do numbers exist? Do lines? The ontology of it certainly has to be like, otherwise you're just saying, look at this game that I built. And so when people say I don't have to justify, I can presuppose anything, and it's like Tang, right? Why presuppose the non? It's like, so you don't actually get the argument that it's not simply we're just arbitrarily presupposing. And if that's the case, as I pointed out, there's no critique. You can't say I'm wrong because I just presuppose whatever I want. Furthermore, how do you know you don't have to justify logic or knowledge? Is that a knowledge claim? That you'd have to actually justify that knowledge exists in order to say I don't have to justify it? So it's self-refuting. And God's not an axiom. God's not a proposition. Revelation, divine revelation in mankind is not axiomatic. Simply because I can formulate things about it in terms of propositions doesn't mean it's another system and like I always make the example of like I know my wife. She's not an axiom or proposition. She's not a formal system, although I can make true propositions about her. Let me see. Going back, there's a lot of stuff in here you guys have said. Yeah, what if there's not a Catholic church? Just find a mosque. You're not going to be edified by going to a heterodox. You're going to be confused. They're not sanctifying sacraments, even if they get a formal formula correct, right? Like, it's not energized um, as a sacrament. Wow. Some kids don't get out of school until 8 p.m. Where you're sorority. That was the other thing I was thinking too. Just how stupid our public education system is. The worst time to leave the house is like, I think, well, there's two different times. There's like, I forget when, it's probably like 3:30 here. And all the kids are like out and they're walking and it's just like, it's crazy. It's chaotic. Like I said, I live in a town of 30,000 people. It's super small. And then I'm thinking, I can hear them leaving, around 7:30. They're in school from like 8 to 3:15. I'm like, what a stupid. And it just reminded me of like what it was like to go to school, grade school and junior high. Like, you don't absorb the information when you're there that long. Like, it's just, I just felt bad like seeing the kids. And the other time is you never go out like everybody's off at work. Wow. Gabriel's Parish just enrolled their 201st catechumen. God bless. Yeah, put the kids to work. Like I had to work. I didn't even get allowance. It was just like you're part of the family, and you pick up the dog poop. Which I hated. We had an orange tree because we lived in Orange County. And you had to pick up the orange because they rotted. And then I had to take the trash out and mow the lawns and do my own laundry. I hated it, but I didn't get paid for it. But it instilled uh, work ethic. And both my brother and I have a strong work ethic. I'm really thankful for my parents for doing that. Is there anything to do help someone unknowingly trapped within this? That's hard, like a cult. Um, you could look up. It's probably too much to go in here. Like decondition. Like there's work that people do specifically of getting people out of cults, or at least help. Like there's nothing surefire to, but I'd probably look up. Um, has a lot to do with psychology and breaking that kind of feedback loop and stuff like that. Andy Muller says, even though he's a Protestant, early hope pray this conversion to Orthodoxy isn't a fad. And that's true and strong. Yeah, I can't really. I can't really see how it would be a fad. Um, that people as our world gets more chaotic and as religions are kind of more present more of kind of superficial commercialism and people are kind of waking up to stuff, they're going to realize it doesn't satisfy. It does not. My hope too is that people, and I think what's kind of going on in the world is kind of waking people up to this, that systems and propositions and philosophies are meaningless. I realized this. I told you the story about it's one of the greatest kind of breakthrough moments, when we were going through what felt like literal hell when my wife was suffering in her when she was diagnosed with a permanent total disability and we were isolated. I was doing my PhD and we were in pain psychologically. She was in physical pain as well, but it didn't look like there was any light at the end of the tunnel. But I always kept God in my heart. I had a hope against hope, even when that was in despondency and despair, and I was suffering. One thing that became clear to me is that studying philosophy, I'm like, I went, I was really broken, and I didn't have anybody, and I went up to the department, and I broke down crying, like, to the professors, and I was like, look what's going on with my wife. I want to kill myself. Like, what do you have to say about that? And they had nothing to say about it. I'm like, exactly. What is a true proposition in your head going to do when you're in agony and suffering? And you need healing. Um, like some abstract, non-personal proposition isn't going to do. It's meaningless. And I think that people are kind of waking up to this, that orthodoxy is not uh, legalistic statues of true propositions, system and stuff like that. Saw somebody um, was chiming in on Ben's stream the other day. I'm convinced by the Orthodox arguments, but I can't give up. I can't stop seeing preterism in Scripture, full preterism. It's like, what do you want? You just want another you just want a system of like, well, it all checked out to be propositionally true. Do you want to be healed? Like maybe you haven't hit rock bottom. Like that's what it does. Well, again, we can make true propositions about the faith, but that's not what it is. It's a personal encounter with Jesus Christ and the Holy Trinity, sacramentally, liturgically, with all the saints, in a way that heals and renews the mind, the heart, the body. So I'm like, if you're fine, you think, physician, heal thyself, like maybe you don't need orthodoxy. Or maybe you can have some self awareness and be like, my systems that I built, me going and getting PhDs and studying philosophy is not going to save or heal anybody, let alone myself. And in that sense, it's garbage. It's meaningless. Is the late Metropolitan Anthony Bloom says, a religion that does not touch a man in his suffering and reach him is meaningless. Like, so it's like, I think a lot of people are kind of waking up to that. And so, as long as, people continuing that, they'll seek things, they'll come to an acknowledgement of the superficial systems of other religions and philosophies and seek something that doesn't change. That's personal, an experience with God that actually heals. And I think that's why And participation, what you can work on is, like, at this point in time, there's nothing you can kind of do. It's kind of a distraction. What you can do is work on yourself. Um, and that often changes the other person, right? You just, like, I can't control what other people in my family are doing and thinking, but I can work on myself. And that's converted, several people within our families and friends and stuff like that, is just seeing the change and be like, actually, this works, and I want it. And then trust God. Like, it's demonic to be like, what it says in scripture, what's impossible in the Gospel of Matthew with men is possible with God. Do you believe? Like, here's a great opportunity to actually have faith mean something. It's an action. It's an incarnational action where it's like, I don't have fear. I actually trust in God. I'm not helpless because I believe in God. Hopelessness, despair, and fear doesn't do anything. It's never solved any problems. It just makes it worse. You know what I mean? So it's just repeat to yourself, God is a good God who loves mankind, and she's in the hands of God. And I believe in God. God will make things right. Now then you can start working on yourself. And when you do action, when you become a servant, because remember, faith is a work, it's an action. Love is a work. It's almost impossible to have fear and despair. That's why the demons want to keep us from not working and serving and doing almsgiving and is because they know it'll keep us isolated, and then we'll just be like, there's no hope. And ultimately, if you kept it out, like, it leads to suicide. Like, so here's a good question. Is there a reason Orthodox do not do the Protestant style worship? So what is it we know about Orthodoxy? We always keep what has been kept. We don't change things. I mean, there could be minor things like, iconography changes. Iconostas was added probably in the 4th century and stuff like that for practical. But the apostles and the church fathers weren't rocking with guitars. And so we keep what has always been kept. We don't change. Furthermore, there's a great critique of Protestant side where, like, it's secular. It's taking, now you can be a musician and play and even write, hymns or something, like, or lyrics praising God and stuff like that. But that's not liturgical worship. Liturgical worship are the rules. It's like, and God actually takes that seriously. We saw with in the Old Testament, people who changed that actually were struck down by God. So, number one, people don't have the authority to change the rules, what's set down by God. Number two, we keep what's always been kept. Number three, it's impossible to divorce the theology from the liturgical music, the tones, the way it's written. So if you change that, you have a different religion. So the reason why we don't have Protestant, because it's a different religion. That music is in a sense, not Christian. That's would And we don't use instruments in liturgical services. That's a continuation of even old temple worship, and we don't change those things. We don't have the authority to do that. And the Thomas, that's in Rives Junction. Is that correct? Mother Gabriella. I know them well. They're in my episcopate. Been there. A national church. Well, the easiest way is if it's a monarchy, there's a king who converts. It becomes um, we have no precedent. I don't even know how that looks outside of like a monarchy or something like that. So I can't even begin to imagine how, other than all the people, the majority of people become Orthodox, it organically flows up when those Orthodox people uh, work in government. Like it just naturally kind of flows. And emerges that like government would become um, led in their minds and hearts by an Orthodox phronema. Oh, Thomas, you're in Ireland? That's right. Sorry, I was thinking of the Rives Junction in Michigan. I didn't know that Ireland had a women's Romanian monastery. That's cool. I'm looking at. I was talking with another friend too. I want to show you something. Maybe I can pull this up. Oh, excuse me. Hmm. If you haven't seen this, we're gonna go in the way back machine. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my background history. You've already heard. I feel like I'm turning into like my grandma, telling the same stories over again. We saw him, but might not have heard. Okay, so have you seen this? The study of stuff? He does some good work here.
How's it going? Second half is just mind-blowing. I'm adding to the conversation is this clip right here. This, whatever this is. Watch it. Not for me. Watch it for you. Thank you. Prepare yourself. Just get ready. All right. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Study of Stuff podcast, where we try to kind of exercise a dying art, let's say, of having beautiful and edifying conversation. We're here to kind of see if we could bring that back. With me today is Father Paul. Father Paul, welcome to the show.
Well, good to be here. Thank you. I like the idea of conversation. You know, to me, Orthodoxy is all about communion. So this is just another aspect of being Orthodox, is trying to get at real conversations. I mean, we just recently had this young man, Charlie Kirk, basically killed because he was standing up for good conversation. I think that's just the way.
Yeah, I fully agree, and I'm happy you mentioned that, because that is very important in this time. I wanted to start off by kind of reminiscing that moment, a memory that I'll hold on forever. The first time I met you, I had come to Denton at St. Maximus the Confessor. I was there for the very first time, and then that day was marvelous because I met my spiritual father, Father Turbo. And I had approached the table. I saw you sitting there. I knew who you were. And I came over, asked for a blessing. And I told you that Father Turbo is my spiritual father. And you excitedly, your eyes opened up and you put your hands on the table and you said, "I'm your spiritual grandfather." And
That's right, yeah.
That memory will be with me forever.
Yeah, Father Turbo has gone way beyond me, but I was able to help him in his initial days before, as he was approaching Orthodoxy, and he was already committed. It wasn't like I helped him to become committed Orthodox. He was already there, but we had a lot of wonderful conversations that began at a first year birthday party of my granddaughter back in the backyard. We talked about Father Schmemann and the Orthodox sacramental vision of life.
Oh, that's perfect, because you just set me up for a little surprise I have for you. If you just give me a second, I think you're going to like this. And here it is. Here's a little surprise for you, Father.
Hey!
Christ is in our midst. Well,
There he is.
I was asked to give this surprise message, and it's no surprise to you, Father, but I love you. I'm grateful for you. You've been and are a real father to me. You've shown me the simplicity of Christ will always untangle the complex knots of our human ways of thinking, our human ways of being. And it's in that simplicity that we begin to find love, we begin to find the grace of God. And so you've inspired me, and you've shown me that it's through that simplicity that all things can be solved to the glory of God. So I just want to say hi, appreciate you, so grateful for you, and I pray that God gives you many more years,
Right.
dear Father.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. There's a lot I could say.
Well,
You know, Father Turbo just told me he got his church was up to 300 people, thank God. And God's really working with him and in Kansas City. That's great.
I would agree. As a spiritual son, he has had a huge impact.
All right, I want to. Well, there's a reason why I showed you that. Father Paul is. Hold on, let me get the chat up here. What's going on here? Father Paul and I go way back. He is the first Orthodox priest that I ever met. And this goes all the way back to 1996. And I just graduated high school, Calvary Chapel High School, and was introduced to apologetics my senior year, Friday Bible class. The Bible class Fridays. Somebody came in, friend Nikias, and taught logic and Christian apologetics, and I fell in love with it and asked for like how can I get more of this? Like what book should I read? And there were two groups in Orange County, California at the time that he plugged me into that I benefited enormously from. One met every week, every Wednesday, and that was Mars Hill, led by Bob and Gretchen Passantino, who'd worked for the Christian Research Institute. And the other one, as you may know, was Russ Mannion's Dialogue, met once a month, and it was more advanced than the Mars Hill group. And Father Paul was there. Father Paul was dear friends with founder of Dialogue with Russ Mannion. And I started going there, and that's where, so at Mars Hill, I started to learn a version of the transcendental argument known as the argument from reason. And then at Dialogue, Russ's and Father Paul's version of the transcendental argument for the existence of God. So it goes all the way back to 1996. And, I stayed active. I learned philosophy and, Christian apologetics from them. And it's just amazing to see. So Father Paul's a dear, dear friend of mine. And he would even, when I was at Thomas Aquinas College, he had a parish in Oxnard, California, which was the nearest. This is before they built the St. Barbara's women's monastery next to Thomas Aquinas College. The nearest parish was St. Herman's Parish, Father Paul's parish in Oxnard. And there were several. So now this fast forward to I was at Thomas Aquinas College from 1999 to 2003, where I graduated. And I was studying the Church Fathers. I went back to my Lutheran roots and was working through a lot of this stuff. It's probably where I made the decision that at Thomas Aquinas College, reading the Fathers and going through the theology, that I would never become Roman Catholic, and became more interested in Orthodoxy. And Father Paul would come up to campus because at the time we had about 3 or 4 actual Orthodox students. So he would come and visit, counsel and hear confessions and stuff like that. And in fact, my very first liturgy was probably 2000, where I went to Father Paul's parish, St. Herman's, in Oxnard, California. And then Thomas Aquinas College basically, I think because of me and another one of my roommates, we were going to liturgy occasionally at Father Paul's parish. And of course, the Roman Catholics wanted us to, well, you just read the great books and obviously just become Roman Catholic. I think they saw him as a threat. And so, bad move, but they banned Father Paul from coming on campus because they wrongly accused him of proselytizing, which he wasn't. Like, Father Paul never did that. They just were losing, people were waking up, like myself, to, yeah, but there's the original church that didn't change, and maybe I'd like to go experience that. But you don't mess with God's church and his priests, because and God's providence, eventually they get a women's monastery, St. Barbara's, um, with Mother Victoria, who's the abbess there, Abbess Victoria, who's actually Father Moses McPherson's spiritual mother. And it's like game's over. I mean, it's literally walking distance from the campus. And they have, or like now you can't control students from walking over there. And they even have a little cemetery for like the young children who had died. And the Roman Catholic students will actually go there and pray over and so they get exposed to Orthodoxy that way. But it's amazing. Oh, did you? I love the sisters at St. Barbara's. They're great. And Mother Victoria. And I miss seeing them. So, is that amazing? Full circle. Then, it took me a while to become like I said, everything kind of going on in our lives. After I got married and my wife suffered from her disability, when I was doing my grad work, I was interested in Orthodoxy still and was studying stuff, and it was my fault. I reached out to the Romanian Orthodox Church because it was the closest one. This is the one that just was able to purchase the church from I think it was a Church of Ireland building on Leeson Street. And in my mind, it was like, oh, it had to be in English because I wouldn't understand if it was in a foreign language. And I just ended up not going. Unfortunately, because when I talked to the priest, he was like, oh, well, because they're serving a Romanian community there, that it was in Romanian. I didn't know. I mean, again, you don't have to understand like all the words to start absorbing what's going on in the liturgy, because it transcends language. And funny enough, I ended up having to learn Romanian anyways, because I was after being baptized in the Antiochian church at the same parish where Father Turbo, Father John Valdez, and all of us came from and were baptized in. I moved over to, which was a closer parish, the Romanians, and learned Romanian anyways, ended up getting ordained in the Romanian Orthodox Church. So it's kind of funny, but it's interesting to see the connections. Who would have thought, right? If you had a 30,000 foot view of how all the way back in 1996, and I don't remember when the time period that Father Turbo met Father Paul, and like all these connections that we'd all become Orthodox and clergy and ordained. Like, it's just a really beautiful story. um oh wow, the St. Barbara Catholic, Saint um or Santa Paula Catholic Church, that's the closest. Oh, there's no way the nuns are based. There's no way they would ever participate in. Oh, Father Moses was in California. Oh, that's why my friend Moses Paskowitz had said he gets to meet. I thought my friend Moses Paskowitz was going to Texas. I didn't realize that Father Moses was coming to California. You won? See, atheists saying the laws of logic just are. Yeah, I've refuted this. Like, it's not even a complete sentence. Are what? Say, um, it really just proves that atheism is brain rot. Like, they literally, the inability to actually think. They can't even form a grammatical sentence. Are what? Matter? No. Like, what is the ontological status of it? Is it normative? And we just went over this with play. Like, let's say you rise a little bit above atheism, and you have some type of Platonic idea of forms as universals and stuff like that. Even the realm of forms, a form, because that's what logic is basically is going to be related to, is immaterial forms, universals, etc. Even if you get to the level of Plato, which is higher than obviously atheism, even Plato realized, yeah, but what sustains their existence? Like the form of a triangle. If a triangle is, there's the existence, a three-sided geometrical figure, can you have something if it doesn't exist? Can something be, can somebody have $100 or if $100 doesn't exist? Can something be blue if blue doesn't exist, etc.? So even with forms, they don't explain their own existence. It already presupposes it. So if logic has to be grounded ontologically in forms, what sustains their existence? How do we know that they relate to other forms? Right? That you're not just arbitrarily connecting. Well, first of all, if they exist, universals exist, then they presuppose existence. So what gives them existence? They don't give themselves their own existence because they're not the definition of existence. Plato posits what's the form of the good that's beyond being and gives being to the realm of being. Okay, so it's just so stupid to be like, they just are. Are what? Fantasy, imagination? If they exist, how do they exist? Do they even, and here's a problem with Plato, there's no explanation. How do they relate to the world at all? What if it's a mismatch? Like, because that's the other thing, we're using logic as not just a formal system of universals and forms, but it relates to the world. How do you know that you even understand the logic correctly? Presuppose. It's total brain rot. And why are they normative? Why is it binding? Why can't we change it? So, in a materialist worldview, matter's not truth directed. It's not normative. All of those things logic implies and presupposes. So to just say it, and furthermore, yeah, it's just, a form can't reveal anything. It's not a person. You can't be serious. And nobody's, I mean, maybe some, we've never just said God just is. That's the same problem, which is like they think everything's just arbitrary. Furthermore, how do they know that if they can't even justify that knowledge exists or overcome any skeptical challenges? Just grant me all my unjustified stuff so that I can make an argument again. It's like, no. Logic does not explain, logic cannot explain logic. It can explain its ontological status, if it even has one, its normativity, how it's related to the world, whether you can even grasp that. What if you're in self-deception? So what they don't realize is a radically different category. All right, what else do we have? Anyways, isn't that cool to see Father Paul on there and just our history? Great priest. He's retired now, and he moved to Denton, Texas. All right, other news, questions. And by the way, if I could just say something just is, well, I have an axiom that says just is, that says all your axioms and your comments about logic are false. So there, like, these guys are like, it's super easy, like, to refute these guys. I think people have such a hard time understanding tag. Yeah, see, you want what they... Let me just make up all this stuff and just say, like, not an argument. The fact that you can have verbal diarrhea and semantic poop come out of your mouth doesn't mean anything to me. Like, literally one of the most abstract and controversial idea existence. And get, like, yeah, just let me just pause it and don't let them get away with anything. They have such a hard time understanding tag because they're stuck in autonomous, like, they are their own, they're idolaters. They worship themselves in their own minds. And what does scripture say? And professing to be wise, it became fool. Like, those who were in the position to actually know and see, it's foolish. Like, they sound like retards, and yet they think they're so smart. Why? Because they built a retarded program that they think is awesome, and an operating system in which they can't even process the meaning of words or ask certain questions. This is sort of like what Vogelin says is a kind of a neo-Gnostic system. As Wittgenstein said, the people don't put the question mark down far enough to just stop. What's good enough? I just have these words and I use them, and that's good enough for me. They don't care to know. In fact, because they're committing a crime, they're trying to hide that. So keep in mind, it's not just intellectually they're retarded. Their will is aligned against the good created order and God himself. And they're trying to hide that they're doing that. So what do? They build a Gnostic system in which questions like that can't be asked. Logic itself, nature itself, cries out to the Creator. And it's grounding. Well, that leads you to God. Then you have to build a man-made fantasy system, an intellectual board game in your head where it's like, well, my system, I don't need that. We don't ask those questions. In fact, the question my operator can't even be run. The program can't be run. And then I think too, in part is because people are deficient in right brain. Like, I'm starting to realize that more and more. It isn't an IQ issue of understanding. Tag's a very easy argument. How do I know? Because my buddy Ken Sands goes, he does magic and he teaches chess and stuff. He goes to grade schools and he presents a transcendental argument for the existence of God to kids, and they get it like that. So it's usually an issue of the will. They're suppressing the knowledge of God, what they know, right? They're attempting to, the questions can't be asked about that. Because they're criminals, like they're villains. Like, I don't know. And villains try to hide the crimes that they commit and justify using unjustified made up stuff that sounds like, well, people use these words, good and existence and logic, so I'll just throw it in there in a word salad and look at it's all smoke and mirrors. And it's really easy to see. Yeah, Thomas, good point. People always like, I hate it when people disparage themselves and be like, oh, I'm a slow boy, I just can't get. It's like, it has nothing to do with that. Think about it this way. It's like, and I'm gonna start, I do this more often. Like when people ask a question, be like, you're asking the wrong question. The question isn't, the issue is not about IQ and like having to study epistemology and stuff to get. You're thinking about stuff in the wrong way. So when people ask questions about tag, not getting, be like, you're asking the wrong question. Means you won't get an answer if you're asking the wrong question because you're thinking about it incorrectly. And I even think that that's another reason why people aren't getting this and why children can get tag, transcendental argument for the existence of God, is children are naturally philosophical. Why is this? Why is that? And they're open. They haven't built systems yet that make questioning impossible. But the parents and schools would be like, well, stop asking that question. You need to like get a job and learn this, and those aren't legitimate questions. And we train our kids not to be. Philosophy begins, the love of wisdom begins with love and curiosity, an openness to want to know, because as Aristotle said, all men by phusus, by their nature, desire to know. And you see this in children. They're naturally inquisitive and they get things too. Like you should ask children philosophical questions. Like it's amazing how intuitive and the profound some of the answers are. Then what happens? They start learning, right, and building layers of systems where they no longer see or reality correctly, but think correctly. They're be given like bad operating systems. So then we get to the age that you're at, and people are like, oh, I'm having a hard time understanding it. Like, it's like, the question isn't about an argument. The question is about rehabilitation. That's why I said tag's a rehab program. You've gotten yourself to think all messed up about the world, about thinking itself, about what sort of questions are the right kind of questions to ask. That's why you can't get it. So me giving you, if the mind's the problem, me giving you something for your, just another argument for the mind to think about isn't going to solve it. You have to, as scripture says, the renewing of the mind. That's tag, the renewing of the mind. It's the gospel. And the other thing I think too is that it's introspective. Think about orthodoxy is introspective. We go inwards. We think with the assumption, you know what? I might be in self-deception. I may think I know things and I might be wrong about that. Maybe I need help from God and the saints and the priest, and we go into church, a rehab program. what was that statistic I found a couple years ago of how many, like, I don't know if it was like 40% or 25% of people report they have no introspection? Philosophy itself, done correctly, is reflexive, as Bonjour says. It's introspective. Why do I hold that? Is that a good reason to hold that? What is logic? Where is it? Why is it normative? Can it explain itself? And you go in and you start thinking about, was I right about what I thought about? I didn't even think about it before. That's what the atheists are, the least introspective people you'll ever meet. They can't go inward at all. They're extremely narcissistic and egotistical. Why would I go inward and question myself if I'm always the standard of truth and right? Moral autists, $4.99. Let the little children come to me and do not hinder them. Yes, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these. So what's the problem? Do you think that the atheists just need another argument? They need to learn humility and to start introspecting they could be wrong. Like, that's really what the problem, why people aren't getting. Just is. All right. Let's look at some news. Crazy times. Pray for the families of the people who were shot. Even though they're Mormons, we gotta pray for them. It's a tragedy. I mean, what a crazy time we live. I mean, these people are being activated. Not only that, in a sense, politically, like, understand it's politically, it's demonic. Like, there's a demonic possession rising over the nation. And we need to pray for our nation. I pray for our nation every day. For our president, civil authorities. But I'm hopeful at the same time. This is a revealing. People are waking up. They're going to turn around. They're not going to put up with this stuff. I can't believe what's going on in Britain. You see this guy, British man, sentenced to 2 years for a Facebook. And how do you do it? Use the R word. Use the spell word and cast it on what does racism mean? Well, first of all, it's anti-whiteism. Like, that should be apparent to anybody. It's not used against anybody else or any other groups, right? There's a reason for that. But it's a spell word, like, well, other than that, doesn't have any meaning. You cast a spell over society using it. Once somebody's labeled that, they're a pariah. They are a leper. And this is why people think you have these groups that, like, well, yeah, those people deserve to be shot and killed. These people, if I determine and label the person the R word, then they get to go to jail for 2 years. It is anti-Christ. It is misanthropic. It's a hatred for fellow man. It's diabolic. That's why I don't think any Christian should ever use that word. I don't think you should ever use the word anti-Semitism. I don't think you should use rights language. The human rights language, we did a whole stream on that. I don't think we should use the R word. What were the other? There was one more that I was going to say. Absolutely not. Never use it. Because its origins are anti-Christian. They're weaponized words. They're divisive. And they're evil. Like, they're... Stop. I mean, look at this. What is going to happen in the UK? They're used to justify any type of atrocity or crime. Like, give me a break.
A post questioning why, you wrote, because they're over here, given life of Riley, off the tax us hard-working people earn when it could be put to better use. Come over here, with no work visa, no trade to their name, and sit down and doss. And then there's more people being put out homeless each year. They get top band priority on housing. You went on to say that you did not want your money going to immigrants who, quote, rape our kids and get priority, end quote. Although you said that you had no intention of carrying out any act of violence, there can be no doubt that you were inciting others to do so. Otherwise, why post the comment? You expressed remorse, but by that time, it was too late.
What a fag this guy is.
For the offence of publishing written material in order to stir up racial hatred, there are sentencing guidelines which I must and will follow.
There, I told you.
The maximum sentence is 7 years imprisonment.
7 years.
In my judgment, this comes close to harm category 1. However, for the purposes of this sentence, I will treat you as falling into category 2, since there was no direct encouragement towards activity which threatens or endangers life. However, you fall towards the top of category 2. For a category 2A offence, the starting point is 2 years imprisonment with a range between 1 and 4 years custody. In mitigation, I take into account your plea of guilty, for which you will receive full credit of 1/3 following your earlier admissions. I take account of the contents of the references from your mother, friend and employer. These can only be of limited value in the current circumstances, as can the contents of the pre-sentence report. I take account too of your expression of remorse, your lack of convictions which are racially aggravated, that you are in employment and you have a partner and family. In passing sentence, I take into account the purposes of sentencing, in particular in relation to this case, punishment and deterrence. As is recognised on your behalf, this offence is so serious that an immediate custodial sentence is unavoidable. Would you stand, please? The sentence that I pass has been reduced by 1/3 to reflect your guilty plea.
Can you believe that? Can you believe? Pray for the UK and Ireland too. D-sign, $10. Father, I found the Passantinos, yeah. What was the other reference? Russ Mannion's dialogue was the other group. And keep in mind too, one of my godsons, Tony, who was a founding member. He went there, longer than I did, and then he actually hosted at his house for many years. After Russ Manny passed away, him and Russ were working on a book together, and so there's that connection too. Bernard Shaw, yeah. It's unreal. Like, I can't. I mean, I know how we got here, but it's. Yeah, speaking of what he's seen, because God forbid you care for your country and the most vulnerable, the children, and want to preserve your culture and nation because you have weaponized migration and they're raping and killing, bringing in foreign religions. There's no way you can preserve an ethos and history doing that. Like, I believe every nation, every group of people has justification, is justified in wanting to attempt to preserve their history, culture. I mean, I would hate to see that happen to Japanese culture, like just overturned and like, or any culture. I think everybody has justification to, except one group of people, right? Now, I'm not saying I believe that. I'm saying the story is, oh yeah, everybody, all these terrible colonizers and, running these people's cultures and colonizing them, right? Every group of people and ethnos has a right to preserve their culture and heritage and people, except for one group. If you bring that, that's not, so it should become apparent. And again, it's evil and it's lies. The one thing you're not allowed to question, right? Or say. You know who the bad guy. It's like when they start, people ask questions, point out reality, like, look what's happening, look what they're doing to our children. You go to jail. You're going on the firing range with, like, obviously to anybody that has the eyes to see can see that's like, what's going on, who's the bad guys. Yeah, what's going on in Michigan? Holy smokes. And furthermore, all you libtards, liblords, left lords out there supporting freedom of religion in the United States, do you really think the founders meant, I mean, just historically contextualize that, right? Do you think they meant non-Christian religions? Where they were coming from and what was going on in the Church of England and stuff like that? Oh, everybody, absolutely not. Want other religions where I live? I don't care what a piece of paper says and how you're going to reinterpret that. If it's demonic and it's destroying my rights. What do I always say? I don't want to thank Jim, Bob, and Andrew for using my argument. Rights don't exist. Now, I didn't come up with that. I give credit to some of the bioethics professors that I work with. It's like, don't use rights language. But I did give that to them. I'm going to say that. And feel free to use that argument. Rights is just what's written on paper for these people. It's force and power. Kind of reminds me of Glaucon in Plato's Republic when asked by Socrates, what is justice? It's similar to saying, like, what's right? Whatever the stronger say it is. The will of the stronger, he says. Well, if that's the case, if there's a right to freedom of religion, it's just on paper, rewrite it. Don't want that stuff. I remember saying this to probably like 10 years ago. My mom, my friend had a liberal mom, and she was kind of spouting equality and all these kind of vague words, and I'm like, no, absolutely not. I don't want equality and freedom of religion. Like, I don't want to live with non-Christian and want them in my nation. And she was like, oh, can't believe it. I'm like, yep, I said it. Would you let your children be destroyed in your house in the name of freedom? And we're like, absolutely. That's why I love when Tucker Carlson, this was probably like 4 years ago, was being interviewed or interviewing Ben Shapiro. And he's like, you don't believe in free market capitalism? He's like, no. He's like, not if it destroys. He's got these stupid French Enlightenment classical liberal ideas of just like, oh, they're just axioms. It's self-evident. Doesn't it just show the stupid abstractionism, quote unquote, rights and self-evident principles and freedom of religion? You're going to subscribe to this made-up Platonic game in your head while you watch your children, somebody break into your house and kill your children? Who cares about it? Who cares about some abstract political Dungeons and Dragons philosophical game that you made in your head when your people and children are dying and being killed? Like, and this is what you get. That's Europe championed and pushed that harder than anybody, and this is, you get destruction. And all these Muslims, so they're all just, you think it's gonna be like, they think it's gonna be great for, like, they're just useful idiots, like, and gonna be used. Oh, here's a good question. One last question. If God exists by himself, why can't transcendentals exist by them without adding God? Well, transcendentals have never been thought to be, they're contingent. Like, first of all, there's nothing in like, that's what I said. In some sense, forms and universals are like transcendentals. There's nothing in them that explains their own existence. So they don't derive their own existence from themselves. It means they're contingent. So even if they're, in a Platonic idea, eternal, they don't explain why they exist. And it should be pretty obvious God is fundamentally different than transcendentals. They don't have they don't even have the qualities of, they're not even at the level of having the qualities of an impersonal God. So, like, I would say a fortiori, even more so, like, you can't just be like, well, the transcendentals just are. They don't explain themselves. They don't explain how they exist, where they exist. They can't sustain their own existence because they're not existence itself. Like, that's should be obvious. Oh, yeah, that's an interesting comment, Trinity. By the way, evil doesn't last. It's self-destruct. Like, this stuff's not gonna. Don't get hopeless and black-pilled. Like, God's in control. Like, and it's, you can see what's how it's like, it divides on it. It's self-destructive. Like, it's not going to last. Can't maintain this forever. All right, other news. see if any students are writing emails complaining. I had a funny email last night. No, all good on this college, university. Let's check the other one. Oh, wow. Amazing. Dope. I had a student write me, I can't find the homework assignment, the discussion questions on the electronic version of the book. So I provide them a free version, PDF version. Now, talk about unobservant and just being unaware. Kids are like this, right? I was watching the other day in the park, like kids just run out into the park, like it's scary. You always see parents like, yell, like grab, they're just unaware of their surroundings and they have to be taught, instructed. Like, I saw a kid the other day, like, they'll run right out in front of a car. It's so scary. I can't imagine what it's like to be a parent and having to, like, worry about that. But when you're in college and acting like you're just and again, it goes to part of this thing. It was with Twitter, right? How'd you do that? How did you use your computer to block, erase the sign? Like, what do you mean, how did I do that? Like, why don't you use your mind and figure it out? Why does it say Roman? Why does it say St. John the Baptist Catholic Church? I don't know. Why don't you figure it out? Why do I have to tell you? This idea that everybody has to think for you. Do you know I saw some article that it's a huge number, like I couldn't believe it. College kids, parents filling out their job applications for them. And enrolling in college too. It's like, what? Nobody taught them. You got to do it yourself. You got to start thinking and using your mind. Mommy and daddy can't be there and do it for you. That's why I love my parents. Thank you, mom and dad. And it was harsh. I didn't understand it at the time. I worked for my dad during high school. I had different jobs in high school, but one of them was he had a company that sold sports drinks and nutrition stuff to gyms in Southern California. And I was the delivery guy. Like, I'd pay people, these gyms would put in orders, and I worked for my dad for a period of time. And I would, drive, even as far from Orange County down to San Diego to deliver Hemet. And I think this one was out by Hemet, if I remember. It's probably like I was probably 17 or 18. And he had a delivery van, but sometimes, I had a 1986 Jeep Cherokee that was my first car. And I was driving, wasn't Hemet, it was Lake Elsinore. It was like a hill. And I blew a rod through my engine. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. This is before cell phones. Walked over to a trailer park. Met some girl there. And I was like, hey, can I use your phone? I got to call my dad before triple A. And I remember calling my dad. I was like, I broke down, like I blew my engine up. And he was like, what do you want me to do about it? It's like, what? He's like, figure it out. And I remember I thought that was so harsh, but I appreciate it now. It's like, he wasn't going to do it. Like, you've got to use your mind and figure it out. If I keep bailing you out, you'll never learn. And, talking about millennial parents, I think maybe they did their children a disservice by always trying to bail them out. And now it's like they can't even apply for a job. You're in your 20s and it wasn't Gatorade, but like we had like creatine drinks. There was an electrolyte drink that anyways, I think this is one of the problems. I get a student yesterday saying, I can't find the discussion questions. Now, I have an idea because I looked at another assignment that they did, and I'm like, it's not even the assignment. This has come up before. So in the file section, you have PowerPoints for each chapter, and then you have your textbook. People think, and it says PowerPoint on there, and the other one says textbook. People are reading the PowerPoints thinking they're the textbook. PowerPoints. Doesn't matter that I put this in the announcements, made videos explaining how to do this. Oh, they can't find it. I'm like, it's on page 326. Do you see what I mean? It's just like, what in the world? These are the people that are going to go into the workplace and work jobs and fly airplanes and work in the hospital, and people that cannot find page 326 because they don't know the difference between a PowerPoint that says PowerPoint on it and something that says textbook. It's amazing that they can even do philosophy. That's so fairly. Does it help to be like, well, let me do it. Oh, I'm so sorry, sweetheart. Let me do it for you. Let me actually just do the homework assignment for you. Why don't we just do that, since you're not interested in reading anything or doing any work? Just pay me, the professor, to do the work for you. Get it in Discord too. What's the orthodox answer to? I don't know. Why don't you think about it for 5 seconds? Why don't you use your brain? Think about what the objection might be. People don't want to do it. Anyways, I hadn't heard back, so today's a good day. No bad emails. I'm not mad, just frustrated and discouraged. I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. Okay, might close it up soon. What a great stream. See what's going on in the face-off book. Anything interesting? Oh, here's another thing. So, when I share this with you, I'm just mildly irritated. It's just kind of fun to talk about in a springboard. So I brought it up. Something off Twitter. And somebody tells me, why don't you just get off the internet and Facebook? I'm like, first of all, it wasn't Facebook. It was X. And why? Because things are mildly annoying and irritating. And it's kind of sad. It's like, I'm glad that all of you don't have work in which you have to be on. Like, good for you. Why don't you just do everything I do? I used to joke with my mom, you know, looking at a new car, for example, like we're going to get a car, let's say. And it's like, I don't like black. You should get white because I like white. I'm like, oh, okay. Okay, mother. I'll just do everything that you just do. Like, it's like people have this. I don't use the internet, so you shouldn't use it either. I don't like red. You shouldn't be eating pizza because I don't like pizza. I mean, what a weird. Good for you. Congratulations. Now stop telling me what to do. You're not the boss of me. Isn't that what kids used to say? Not the boss of me. Gavin Orland getting dragged hard. Sweet. What are they going to do if Gavin Ortland converts to Orthodoxy? They just keep losing. Poor guys. Alright, I'm trying to find some other news before we finish off. They're bringing the National Guard into Portland. Are they doing Chicago too? Antifa's now listed as a terrorist organization. You do RICO statute, arrest these people. Says here, is this correct? Because this is a conservative site. Trump authorized deadly force against Antifa terrorism. Obviously, it's organized and paid. Like anybody watching this, but it's like, you can't assault. I mean, first of all, do you see like so you got one that actually shot into a van thinking they were getting ice, and ended up not hitting that. And then they're chanting "Kill all ICE." They're throwing rocks, and it's like federal agents. I'm like, keep it up and watch what. All of them, we've lived in such a complacent, lawless society where Rolling Stones, every cop's a criminal and every criminal a saint. Where the good guys go to jail for defending. The bad guys get away and are funded. And so obviously it created a social kind of ethos that like, I mean, think about if you're running a classroom and you never disciplined the students for like, they realized they could get away with anything. Well, we're not getting in trouble. And it was backed by the media, right? That it'll just cut out any of the good guys and make the bad guys look good, like they're the ones being, oh, well, look at the car tried to run over a protester. How long do you think you can keep that up before people get fatigued and get fed up? Like, especially you going after federal agents, like, good luck. Now you got it. If that's true, Trump, like, these stupid idiots. Did you know, like, it was like 60% of Antifa's trans? You guys are going to get shot. You're going to go to jail. And you're going to experience the full force of the law. Like, you did it to yourselves. Yeah, can you believe somebody read a PowerPoint thing as a textbook? It literally says PowerPoint. I just... People wonder why people can't get tagged. Because they don't even have a PowerPoint between it. Yeah, thank God the police have body cam. He hasn't done anything doesn't mean he's not going to do. Well, they're doing something right now, like, so I don't know how, but it's been the disappointment of Trump, I know, is that it's just like all these promises and nothing. But they're in Portland right now, like there's videos of it, like getting these people, like, so I think things are changing. I don't know how far that'll go, but that has generally been the disappointment, is like all talk right here, Trump. We're gonna send out the indictments and we're gonna get them and clean the swamp. It's like, but I'm happy. You know what? Take a win when you get it. They're out there in Portland right now, rounding them up and arresting. I ain't gonna complain about it. All right, guys. Any other questions? Oh, wow. This guy has the exact mandolin as I do. What does he say? He placed the tuners and added a tone guard. Can't even see it. Am I going blind? Yeah, this guy's like, what is a tone guard? Oh. It's the metal frame that fits on the back of the mandolin to create space for instrument to resonate better when... Yeah, but what does it look like? Oh, that's a trip. Maybe I should do that. That's a tone guard. Huh. I didn't know that. But that's my mandolin right there. That's the same. Curious as to what tuners you went to. I have a 315 also. Me too. Me too. I was trying to practice, trying to learn this. St. Anne's Real. For real. Is that Derek for real? No, it's St. Anne's Real. And here, I'll play you. It's a cool song. Hopefully I don't get dinged for this, but I love these.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Mando Lessons. My name's Baron Collins Hill. In this week's lesson, if any of those requirement by any stretch of the imagination. So let's jump into this tune. Again, I'll play it simply at first and then build up to a more complex rendition and talk about what I'm doing as I go. Let's get into it. All right, so here we go. We're doing St. Anne's Real in the key of D. I'll start out the first time through as written and taught in my lesson on mandolessons.com, and then add things and talk about what I'm adding as I do it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. gonna take some notes out.
So he's doing the chorus.
Add some double stops.
I don't know what happened.
B part.
Can you learn this by tomorrow?
Little partial chords. Got a D, G. I'll add some double stops. Whole lot of A and D string as drones.
Cool, huh? All right, so I'm gonna try to learn that. Here is the music so I can practice without doing the double stops and stuff like that. Those are the actual notes on the Mando. Yeah, you just gotta, what can I say? You just gotta practice it. And learn more songs. All right, what's going on in the chat? And then I'm gonna leave. Same tuning as violin, correct? Yeah, HP browser. Like most people with level head, obviously they vote for like it wasn't like their guy. You know, most people just didn't want to go to World War III and didn't want their country invaded and weaponized migration and kind of hope for better, I guess. I don't know, like, but I mean, I don't put my faith in politics. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'll take the wins, like, if they come, but I don't invest too much into politics. I'm like, whatever, like, much better than what it could have been. 199 Counterdocs. What's the best critiques of phenomenology? I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good question. Probably getting into the inability to make metaphysical commitments through I don't I mean ultimately it's gonna be traced back to Descartes, what he started. I mean he's not a phenomenologist, but like probably prior moves. There are some good things about phenomenology and phenomenological language, like so it's not all bad. Some really good questions. Check out the stream that Dr. Stephen DeLay and I did on Heidegger. So, but it'd probably be like what type of phenomenology? You know, it's like obviously there's Christian phenomenologists, so and the other thing too is like Trump's just so unpredictable. Like I don't know what's going on in that guy's mind. Like you hope for the best, hope against hope, but like I wouldn't place any bets on him. It's like one point he looks like he's a Zionist Zog. Next time it's like he's not, and it's just like I have no idea what's going on in that guy's mind. I just take the like. I'll take the wins, like, the ice wins and registering. Now Antifa's a terrorist organization, and federal agents going after them in, the National Guard being called in Portland, Oregon, and like rest, like absolute, like that's. But I put not my trust in princes or horses, but in the Lord. Yeah, that memorial was weird. I don't know what to say about. Just everything's so commercial. I don't know. Who has a new guitar player? What was the other song I was trying to learn too? Just focus on one. I tried it last night and I was like, I'm gonna need to practice. And the other thing too, it's one thing to practice in your room, and it's like I got the song down. Um, and then when I go jam with the band, like, because here's the thing: when you're practicing, let's say you go off a beat or something like that, you can stop and like. When you're in the band, like you've got like they just keep going, right? They're not gonna stop. You're like you miss the rhythm or something like that, and then it's almost like I remember one of the songs when I was learning Off to California. I had a problem with. It's like saying your ABCs, right? If somebody interrupts you in the middle, you have to like you can't just. It's hard unless you know it really, really well to pick right back up. It's like okay, I got to go back to the beginning. Eventually, I got Off to California, but I remember some of the more kind of complicated songs that move through a lot more notes. It's hard to actually play when you're with somebody else. I don't know. That's a good question about. I mean, sin means different stuff, and also we're not a legalistic, right? We don't see sin as statutory. Um, but yeah, generally speaking, people who aren't baptized are not supposed to be in the altar, but I don't know. I'm not an expert on what that means and what. Yeah, I wish I was better about Bitcoin putting in. I was afraid. I only put a little bit. Yeah, what better? But if I'd been doing this back I mean, even going back, let's say 2016, if I just put 100 in each month, like, should have, would have, what can you do? You can't live in the past and think about that stuff. So, but I thought about that, originally I put, and then I would wait for it to go down to like, oh, I'm going to put money. And then sometimes I wouldn't because I'd be freaked out. I'm like, why is it down so bad? Was the time to put it in? But then I was just like, well, how much, like, I mean, you paying like bills, just like 100 a month on different stuff. I'm like, you can set it up where it's just 100 goes in each month, right? And it just will start accumulating. Should have done that way back when I first started, but I didn't. Do you know that the more you invest in Bitcoin, the more boomers disappear? That was like the first thing that I learned. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. They're inversely proportional. Because boomers can't stand Bitcoin. The more you put it, so you're all talking about undermining the Fed. Bitcoin actually, what we do know is Bitcoin undermines boomerdom. Have you thought about that? Mm-mm. All right. Oh wait, H. Brosy asked me a question. Oh, I hate it when I go over the part on the bottom that has little newsreels and they pop up and it stays up there for like, it's not going away. Because it goes right over the super chat. I mean the chat box. Right. Go away. Ice Cube's car or bus was firebombed. They thought it was ice. They didn't. Man, this is beyond like irony, right? It's like Ice Cube gets mistaken for ice. I don't know what's going on my computer. Hold on a second. This is frustrating. I don't know, HP Brosy. That stuff he's asking about what white Europeans should do. I have no idea. I'm not I can do political philosophy from kind of history, but like I'm not in politics. Like I'm clergy. I kind of get the feeling too that they're beyond the turning point. Like, I don't know how you reverse that. I just Jane, I've talked about it too. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you first exactly, Blake. You, I mean, part of this is due to secularism. So you do the one thing you can control. First things first, like turn to Christ. Like, the power of God will spread through. That's the one thing that should be first and foremost patently obvious. So yeah, everything's in God's. I don't worry too much about. I feel bad for people going through stuff, but you can control that. You can like work on your faith. All right. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for the wonderful super chats. Hopefully I didn't miss any. Let me just check on the chat, the fan funding. Okay, got all those. I want to thank you guys again for coming on out here and supporting good talks today. God bless you. May the Lord keep you, preserve you. Put your first things first. That's it. Do almsgiving, pray for others, do your prayers, go to liturgy. Eastfian donates $10. Thank you so much. I'm glad I saw that 3 minutes ago. Thank you. So, yes. First things first. God bless you guys. Until next time, may the Lord keep you and preserve you. Amen.